Alright, what's up everybody? I've had a couple of requests to refilm a video for a craft first shrimp that I've tied on my Facebook page probably, I don't know, 3 months ago or so. I did it on a live stream and I don't know how to get back and save it or whatever, so I'll just make a YouTube video of it. So it's very simple. What you're going to need is a traditional style shrimp hook. This is a Ahrex hooks NS 156 in a size 4. Put that in the vise. I'm using a UTC 140 in just white. Still think UTC is the best thread. It has just that perfect amount of stretch and give and strength. So you're going to start about halfway down the shank of the hook and wrap it back a little bit around the bend to about halfway between the point and the barb of this hook. Next you're going to get a little bit of a Mallard flank. This is basically just going to act as the mouth parts of the shrimp, and also the natural curve will help provide some support for the craft fur above. The actual stem will provide the support. The feather itself really won't. But go ahead and tie that directly on top of the hook. Wrap over it a couple of times and adjust your length. You don't want it too big, long and too short. You just want it, you have to kind of picture the end taper in your head. You want, the less amount of material on the closest to the shank, and you're going to gradually get longer as you work up. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So another important thing to note about this fly is you want to constantly build a taper body anyway. So work your way back to kind of where you started, and always trim your materials at an angle to the hook, and that's going to help provide the taper of your thread. It's not really apparent right now, but it will when you keep adding in more and more materials. So work your thread back to right where the mallard's tied in there. Next, you're going to want to take some craft fur. I'm going to explain a little bit what I do. Basically, craft fur comes in, it's one patch. Let me get a patch. Just like this. And it has underfur, but within that underfur you have like long fibers, you have medium fibers, you have small fibers. What I do is I break all that out before I even start tying. So I have the smallest fibers, I have the medium length fibers, and I have the long fibers. So keep all those separated. Makes this part a lot easier. Take a little clump of your medium size. And put it right on top of the hook. You want it to extend a little bit past the mouth parts. And wrap over it. Just to secure it to the hook. Again, cut it at an angle. That'll help it force the proper taper in the end. Don't worry about the little scragglies there. We'll take care of that in just a second. Next, what I like to do is grab just another little tiny clump of the medium length of hair. and this time tied in so it's just a hair longer than the clump underneath it, just like this. Again, cut at an angle. And work it back. Now you can sort of see a gradual little taper we're building here by doing that trim, and it's always good to have a little comb handy. Just always keep it under control. And work your thread back right there. Next, take your smallest length, and we're going to kind of use this as a dubbing. Just put on your thread and twist it up. And what this is going to do is provide a little bit of support for the eyes to keep them splayed out. You could use anything here. You could use ice dub or like a SLF, anything really. I use the under fur of the craft, you know, fur patch, because I'm just going to throw it away, and then anyway, why not? This next part, you could buy, you know, pre-made eyes and stuff. It's so simple to make. Basically, this is just a little small piece of 40-pound monofilament from a giant spool I got. Just take a lighter and singe just barely, and then I take the new Deer Creek black resin. I put a little drop on it, cure it, put a little drop on the other end, cure it, and then I seal it up. I have some really cheap black nail polish. I put that on the outside of it. What that does, if you don't really seal the resin to the mono, it's going to eventually slide itself off, even though you did cure it. But this provides like a protective layer. I don't know if you could really see that or not. So anyway, enough of that. And once you have that done, go ahead and cut that off. And you sort of want the eyes splayed out a little bit, so I just like to put one on, wrap it, and put the other one on, just to make sure they're even. Just like this, right on the side of the hook. Don't forget to use the little dubbing ball as a prop, because that's why you put it there. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Just take your time with it, and everything will be okay. And once again, wrap back. And obviously, the mono underneath is definitely going to help build the profile. So I like to cut those just a little bit shorter behind the eye of the hook, and just continue wrapping, and I force that to the underside of the hook. This will just help build the underbody even more. It's not really important if they're even or not, but just kind of anal like that. It's at this point right here where you'd want to add some lead if you wanted to. I actually kind of like them unweighted. Most of the time, if you're fishing saltwater flats, it's super shallow water, so a lot of shrimp kind of just jerk right underneath the water and hover, if you will. They don't really bounce up and down like a jig, if you will, but it wouldn't hurt to weight them either. I know Flyman has that new little tail thing you stick out the back. I know somebody suggested that one time. I just really haven't gotten to that yet. I'm not a huge saltwater guy, but I do enjoy it from time to time. So anyway, that's kind of what we're working with now. The eyes are nice and splayed out. Got an underbody going. Next, I like to take some rubber legs. These are hot tip, clear, hot tip orange. I'm not going to use the whole thing. I like this to just extend past the craft fur in the front. And put one wrap down and get another one. I just like the hot tip in the front for some reason. It just looks really cool. I forgot to mention the color of this craft fur is actually cream. You're going to need two colors, cream and tan, for this guy. I do these in just all kinds of colors. I don't sell a lot of these, to be honest, but they're really fun to tie, and you can get really creative with colors. I mean, here's a pink and black one I just did too. That's a really awesome color. You know, chartreuse and pink. That's a really popular saltwater color. Purple and black. All white, chartreuse and white. You know, you get the idea. Let's go ahead and tie that down. So that's kind of sitting right in between the eyes and extending past the craft fur in the front. Next, what I don't have in front of me is some flash. I like this this black crystal flash because it's kind of like an antenna. So I like to get one strand of that off the hank, cut it in half, and double it over the thread, and put it right on top of the hook, just like this. Okay. So now it looks pretty good. Now you got everything in place. Got the antenna sitting right in the middle of those rubber legs, right in between the eyes. And we can go to the next part, which gets your longest piece of craft fur, or longest clump, if you will. And this is going to go right over the top. It's like an overwing. Again, you're building up layers slowly and slowly. So you had the mallard, then you had the smallest layer craft fur, another one on top of that, and then this one right over the top of that. And this basically just hides everything you just did. Okay. Just make sure it's nice and secured. And cut it at an angle and work your way back and cinch it all down. Alright. So next, what you're going to need is a thin monofilament. This is just like a mono thread for, you know, tying some hollow flies and stuff like that, but I use it just as a rib here. Just cut a little piece off, a little length, and tie that in on the side. Okay, set that out of the way for a later ribbing action there. And now we're going to build a dubbing loop, probably 5 inches long or so. Wrap around it to lock it down, and bring your thread all the way back to right about an eye's length back from the end of the hook. Get your dubbing twister, set that up. I like to drop a little half hitch in. Now you're going to get the medium length of craft fur that you have separated, and kind of align all the tips in your hand before you put it in a loop, just like that. Put this clump in the loop, and now you can manipulate it when it's in the loop. So keep everything kind of stretched out, and you know, you don't want it like humongous, like really thick clumps of this under fur on a rope on the hook because it just gets really bulky really fast. So take your time and kind of spread it out. And alright. So go ahead and twist this up. Hope I'm still in focus. And make sure it's pretty tight when you're twisting it. And get your little comb handy and brush it all out. And this stuff's gonna go just absolutely everywhere. And that's cool. You could be, you know, a lot more efficient if you make a dubbing brush of this stuff and, you know, drop some ice dub in there with it. That would look cool. This is just the way I've always done it. You know, if it ain't broke, kind of thing. If you lick your fingers and kind of get it all on one side, makes it a little bit easier when you're wrapping this stuff. So go ahead and start wrapping. It's hard to do. I got my camera super close. Just take your time. Try not to trap a lot of fibers as you're going back towards the eye of the hook. Alrighty. And that's perfect. You still want a little bit of room at the front, just like this. Tie that off and get rid of that. And cut your tag end off, just like this. And go ahead and brush the crap out of this. Alright, now kind of separate the hair on top of the hook just like this and work it down. Alrighty, so now we're looking pretty shrimpy, but we're still not done. Now we're going to do a overwing over all this mess to kind of create a shell back and make it pop a little bit more. And for that I use a little bit darker of a color. This is a tan, longest length, and again keep your taper going just like that, and we're going to reverse tie this as an overwing. So if you lick the tips, it helps keep everything under control. This is pretty difficult with the camera right in front of me again, but go ahead and reverse this and tie it down all the way up to the eye of the hook and back, and make sure it's really secured just like this. Alright, now we're going to fold this over itself. Make sure our fibers are nice and straight and wrap over that. Make sure that's nice and secured. Catch behind the eye of the hook. And now we can make our ribs and secure this fur to the hair. To the hook, I mean. Now the first wrap is the hardest. So just take your time and be patient. Kind of wiggle your ribbing material through and around. And don't worry if it looks bad first. You're trapping any hairs or anything. We're going to take care of that at the end, so don't worry about that. Just kind of get it started. Alright, so that's not bad. And work your way through, just like this. And after the first wrap or two, it gets a lot faster. And you're kind of creating your body segments here for your shell back, as well as kind of securing everything to itself and to the hook. Alright. And the reason I like to use mono here is because, one, it's a synthetic material. The Crafter is a synthetic material, it holds better than a wire would. And two, since it's a shrimp, it's going to be in salt water, and I don't want a wire to rust off. So anyway, once this is up here, I like to wrap over the thread wraps just to secure it, because this little mono thread is kind of springy, and it likes to unravel on you, so I like to work it all the way up to actually catch it on the metal itself, the metal hook, and then you can catch that with your thread. That's just how I've always done it, and it works. So, and then fold it over itself and wrap it back onto the tail, just like this. So that's kind of what you're ended up with. You fold it back on itself and wrap over it, and you can cut that off and save that for another fly. And at this point, you're pretty much done with this. So you can remove your thread, drop a wet finish or two on there. And at this point, you're going to want to color your thread. If you had a tan marker, which I do, it's just back there and I don't feel like getting it, so we're just going to leave it. You get the general idea anyway. So grab your little comb again and go nuts, getting all the leg material free that you just trapped. And still not done. It's a fairly time consuming fly, but it looks really good. It's pretty important that you get all the legs as good as you can, so you have no surprises when you're out on the water. I like to kind of form a V like this with my legs, and I get a nice pair of synthetic scissors and kind of make the V even more pronounced by cutting all the legs from around the hook gap. This makes it a little bit thinner, more realistic, because the legs are sort of translucent, and it allows the material to move a little bit better, and it helps prevent fouling around the hook. So that's kind of what you're left with. And now you could stroke them all straight down again. Get your scissors again, and I kind of come in at an angle and trim about half of these, just like that. And the rest I kind of scoot forward, just like that. So that's kind of what you're working with there. You got like a V of the legs, and so yeah. Next, I like to finish my shell back. Kind of got an unruly leg. Oh, that's why. Okay. To help control all this stuff so it doesn't do what just happened on the camera in the water, you use a UV resin, and for that I use Deer Creek Flex. The trick to this is you don't want to use a lot, because resin actually weighs, it has a weight, and you don't want this thing to flip upside down in the water. So just put a sparse amount on the shell back itself, just like this. Okay, and I like to form kind of a triangle right between the eyes, because all shrimp kind of have like that horn type deal going on. Use your hands to sort of control the fur while it's curing. And yeah, I'm going to do this one more time, just kind of get rid of all the bumps and stuff, and this little guy's ready to go. One quick little tip, if you have like little fuzzies and stuff, you have a little lighter, you just kind of hit it with that. All the little fuzzies will go away like really quickly. Get your resin back out. Again, just a really thin light layer. I'm not even squeezing the bottle, it's just smearing it around with the tip, if you will. And right onto the horn, just like that. Okay, and hit it. Now, resin doesn't really cure fully until about 15 or 20 seconds under the light, so a lot of guys just kind of zap it and expect it to be done, and you know, their eyes will smear right off of the material, or you know, you have to be patient with the stuff. I mean, it does cure immediately, but technically not immediately, so just let it do its job. It's still faster than epoxy. I mean, it'll be good to go. Never have problems. But that's it. Tack free. And now we have a little craft for shrimp. Ready to go catch some fish. Anyway, thank you guys.